We're looking at our favorite wide receiver picks in rounds 5 through 8. This is going to be based on Fantasy Pros PPR average draft position right now on FFT Express. All right, welcome everybody. Aizer and Jamey Eisenberg here. So, obviously, look, it's no surprise. Our favorite wide receiver is typically going to be going in round 5, not round 8 in this range. But we're going to give you picks that we like throughout this range. So, Jamey, who stands out to you as we get to rounds 5 through 8?
So round 5 has a few guys that I like. DK Metcalf, Courtland Sutton, Travis Hunter. All these guys are going in this round, excuse me. And like Sutton, I would consider in round 4. I think he's just, proved himself in Sean Payton's offense and what he did with Bo Nix last year. I think Travis Hunter is going to have a big rookie season, like the setup for him in Jacksonville. And then who did I say? Oh, DK Metcalf. Once we get his quarterback situation, you've talked about this a lot with Aaron Rodgers, how much he peppers his number one guy. So he may not even be in this range. He's just at the very beginning of it. But I think these 3 guys are well worth taking the chance on in round 5, and I think they're going to have top 20 caliber seasons.
One thing I never talk about, though, is that Mason Rudolph may not be horrible for DK Metcalf. I wouldn't take him in round 5, maybe late. If it were late round 5. But so Calvin Ridley averaged, he scored 14.1 or more PPR fantasy points in 3 of 5 games with Rudolph last year.
14.7 actually. It was, and he was just over 11 PPR points per game for the season. So his numbers did stand out with Rudolph. And, hopefully that's the case, that Rudolph will do the same thing for Metcalf. I mean, look, barring a Jonnu Smith trade, it's a pretty barren receiving core right now.
Yeah, and also if you remember, George Pickens had 2 massive games a couple years ago with Mason Rudolph. In 3 games with Rudolph, he had 2 just bonkers games. Then he had a 0. All right, so the wide receivers going in round 5 that I don't think Jamey would want to draft this range would be Jalen Waddle, Rome Odunze. A little early for them. All right, so how about we go to round 6? Who do you like in the next group?
I think Calvin Ridley's worth taking a chance on here, but he's not my favorite guy. So Jauan Jennings, I think, is definitely worth a shot in this range. And Jeudy, those are my 2 favorites from this round. You also have some, good players with the chance to still be very quality fantasy options. Jordan Addison, Chris Olave, George Pickens, Deebo Samuel. We can nitpick on where those guys should be going. But I think Jennings, if he establishes himself as I expect him to as the lead guy for San Francisco, and Jeudy, same thing for the Browns, especially how many games Joe Flacco starts. You can go back and listen to the full-length episode, how much we like the situation for the Cleveland pass catchers with Flacco. But I think these 2 guys, again, Jeudy, I would actually take a round sooner, and Jennings getting close to a similar range for me as well.
I think I pretty much like every wide receiver in this draft, in this round, which would be Jordan Addison, Olave, Ridley, Jennings, George Pickens. I don't like Deebo Samuel here. No way. Jerry Jeudy. And I think probably too early for Ricky Pearsall. He's got an injury right now, but I still think he could be terrific. But yeah, it's a good round.
Yeah, you're definitely more optimistic on Olave than I am right now. I'm just concerned about the quarterback situation and his injury history as well. But this is a good spot to start to consider him and take a chance on.
He's wide receiver 34.
Yeah, it's a great spot.
So right, I feel like he'll be the top target getter, and probably you're right. It may be a little bit early because I don't know that with the garbage they have at quarterback, he probably doesn't have much upside to outperform this. So I think you're right. Talking it out loud now. I'm going to move Olave down another round. He used to be a round 7 guy. And then we'll get to round 7. We'll do that after this break on Fantasy Football Today. All right. So what's the next group looking like? Who do you like in round 7 at wide receiver?
So this is an interesting range of guys, given the scenarios that some of them are dealing with. You have both Packers receivers here in Jaden Reed and Matthew Golden. I would still take Reed over Golden, at least as of now. But they're basically going 3 picks, 4 picks apart, 5 picks apart. 74th overall for Reed and 77th for Golden. I'll learn how to count one of these days. Jacoby Myers and Khalil Shakir feel like very safe floor plays here with somewhat limited upside. Again, as we talked about in the full-length episode, if Shakir can find a way to get more touchdowns, he's going to potentially shatter his ADP based on his role in Buffalo's offense. And Myers, I think, is going to lose some opportunities, mostly because of the run game being better for the Raiders and the addition of somebody like Jack Bech, who's going to be a better complementary option than he had to deal with last year. But also you get the potential boost of Chip Kelly and Geno Smith. And so hopefully that keeps Myers in a safe production range, and this is a good spot to take a chance on him. So this is an interesting round. I think Stephon Diggs, off-field situation aside, if he's the lead receiver for the Patriots, this is a great spot to take a chance on him. And you also have at the tail end of this, Brandon Ayuk, who could still be very relevant for the 49ers, just probably going to take some time. So it's a good range of basically number 3, number 4 receivers. A lot of these guys, I think once you, especially like me, if you go receiver early, you end up taking one of these guys in this range. I think the Packers guys are probably the guys that I think have the most upside, because if one of them hits, could still be very special. We saw that from Reed in 2023, and certainly we can see that from Golden this year.
I think I hate this wide receiver group. I think I realized that once we get to right around 38-ish or so at wide receiver, I don't like it. I want to get at least 3, if not 4 of those guys. And maybe I don't know that I like these guys in going in round 7 better than guys who are going in round 10 or something like that.
It's a fair point. And I think, we're looking at Fantasy Pros ADP in this same range. You have Quinshon Judkins, you have Caleb Johnson, you have Aaron Jones if you buy into him, but this spot's great. You have Tony Pollard. You have a little further down, a guy like Jaylen Warren, who I think should be below these guys, but it's a great group of running backs. So if you're telling me those guys fall to this range, I'm probably loading up at receiver early and taking the shot on 2 of these guys.
Mahomes I don't know if you said Mahomes, but he's in this range too.
I didn't look at the quarterbacks, but yes, Mahomes.
Yeah, Mahomes I would rather have than those receivers, but I'm looking at just very early CBS ADP from our listeners. And a lot of the guys that we talked about in round 6, like Addison, well, he's a late round 6 pick. Ridley, late round 6, but Zay Flowers, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, they're round 7 guys. And I would be pretty pumped. Mickey Pearsall's round 8. So I think what we're seeing in the CBS ADP early compared to Fantasy Pros is Fantasy Pros seems to be a little bit more wide receiver heavy.
I think those are going to be a lot of the PPR drafts though, and we, I don't remember where we had this conversation. FFT Express or the full length episodes, but like, what have we learned from our mock drafts? And these receivers going off the board early shows you that you can get good wide receiver production. You should be looking to get your wide receivers early and still getting great running back production late.
All right, let's talk about round 8 then. So this would be 85 through 96, I believe, in draft ADP. We got like Cooper Kupp in here. We got Ibuka, Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney, Luther Burden. That appears to be it. One name that you're not going to hear is Christian Kirk. He's having a very good camp, apparently. You might want to move him up a little bit. But who do you like in round 8?
Yeah, I mean, these are, again, similar group to the previous one. Kupp could easily be a significant contributor for the Seahawks, knowing that it's, Jackson Smith and the Jigba and basically him as the number 2 target. So if he stays healthy, he's probably going to shatter this ADP. Josh Downs, if we get great production from Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, as we saw last year, where Downs benefited greatly from Joe Flacco by comparison to Anthony Richardson. Darnell Mooney, I think, is a great pick at wide receiver 50. I know he didn't show a lot with Penix, but he only played really a full healthy game with him. So there's still a lot to love about what Mooney did last year as well. I think there's a similar profile to Khalil Shakir from a fantasy perspective as opposed to NFL perspective, but can get you similar type production, getting him basically 2 rounds later. And then the rookies, look, there's Ibuka's going to struggle for his role. Same with Burden, but if they hit based on where they were drafted, they could easily be significant contributors as well. But we're still looking at, again, if you're comparing these guys to other positions, you got Pacheco in this range at 87th, 97th overall. I would much rather have him. RJ Harvey at 100th overall. I would take him.
Come on. Huh? That's insane.
It's insane. Yeah.
How is that happening? RJ Harvey. That's ADP is going to look a lot different.
Yep.
But maybe we're the fools. Maybe we're way too high on every running back. All right, Jamey, thank you very much. We will talk to you all tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today Express. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you then.